All right, hello everybody. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Those of you who can't, this will be on my YouTube page as an archive file. Hopefully everybody here is seeing the same thing I'm seeing. Should be a military cultural competency, how to talk military in 3 easy steps. So I'm going to first go through and explain who I am and why I'm qualified to do this, and then we'll get into the details. So my name is Graham Facer. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an Army vet. I served for 7 years in the Army as a power generation equipment repair, which is just a fancy way of saying generator mechanic. I did 2 combat tours, one in Afghanistan and one in Iraq. After separating from the military in 2011, I started a foundation called Charlie Mike Arizona. We're a nonprofit organization that caters to PTSD support groups for veterans. I also worked with Rally Point, Arizona, which focuses on suicide prevention and crisis management for veterans. What we do is we help clients who are either entering into a crisis or emerging from a crisis get reconnected with the community and the resources out there that are available to them. Why you need to understand how to talk to your people. This webinar is designed for employers, fellow employees, and people who generally work with the military, maybe VA officials, things of that nature. Why you need to understand your veterans. Currently, according to a RAND survey that was conducted in 2012, the suicide rate among veterans is 22 a day. 22 veterans a day are taking their lives, and most of it can be stopped. Right now, there are 21.4 million veterans in the United States. That ranges from World War II to the current conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Right now, there are 20% of all returning Afghanistan and Iraqi veterans suffer from PTSD. Now, PTSD isn't specific to the military, but that's what we know it as in modern society, because it is this war that has brought it to the forefront of our news channels, our newspapers, our televisions. So the increased suicide rate, increasing number of those with PTSDs, and the struggles that we have in the civilian sector as veterans are just some of the many reasons you may want to understand the people around you, especially if you're going to be working in a field or profession that focuses strictly on the military. If you're going to find yourself working in the VA hospital, while many of the VA employees are veterans themselves, not everybody is. And that is one of the toughest things for a veteran, is to walk into a place full of people who don't understand what it is they're going through. So our 3 easy steps. Step 1, the basics. I want to go over a few of the common terminology, common terms that you might hear in language profile of a veteran. So every branch has a word that means everything but the word no. For the Army, it's hua. For the Marine Corps, it's hoorah. The Navy has hooya. Those are just, if you ever hear someone saying that, it's generally an affirmative response to whatever's going on around them. We use common replies to questions and requests for actions. Sometimes if you're asking one of your employees who is a veteran to, hey, Mark, go over to the copy machine and run me 100 copies, he's going to say Roger or Wilco. That's just a military way of saying yes. One of the things we don't say is right. You will very rarely hear us say right unless we're talking about a direction. We just like to clarify everything we're going to say. On telephonic conversations, you may hear us use words like over, out, say again, things like that. What we're doing is we're mimicking what we would hear on a radio. Over means it's your turn to talk. Out means it's done. Conversation's over. Say again is a firm way of asking you to repeat yourself. And I know for me as a veteran, those are probably 3 of the biggest words that I brought out of the military with me. I don't usually say hua too much anymore, but I definitely use my over, outs, my Rogers, my say agains, my will do's. So step 2, don't pretend that you understand what your veteran is saying. Many of us find it insulting for you to pretend that you understand. We'd much rather explain it to you, even though we'll roll our eyes and shake our heads and huff and puff and pretend that we're upset. It is insulting to pretend that you understand what we're talking about. One of the things you'll notice with military, we tend to rely on each other. It's an immediate bond. When you walk into a hospital and there's another veteran in the chair, in the waiting room, that's who we're going to go sit by. We want somebody that we can relate to, and that goes for anybody. You see pregnant mothers talking in a hospital waiting room. It's because they're comfortable and they've got something in relation. So we talk about our veterans getting together. One of the most insulting things is for a non-military person to attempt to use military lingo. We can generally tell just by the tone of your voice and the way it rolls off your tongue that you have no idea what you're talking about. The military, more often than not, combat deployments give veterans that unspoken bond and allows us to connect on a different level than we would with the civilian counterparts. You will hear things, unfortunately, very nasty things. When we get upset, you'll hear veterans, one of the first things they'll do is they'll ask somebody, did you ever serve? And of course, you're going to get that no, and they're going to say, well, then you don't understand. We don't expect you to understand. And that's kind of the idea behind what we're doing today. It'll give you a chance to better understand your people, your veteran employees. We really don't want you to pretend to understand us. Which brings us to step 3. Ask. Plain and simple. Ask for clarification. If I say Roger or Wilco, or you've asked me to do something and you're not sure if I'm going to go do it, ask me. Hey, what does that mean? I would much rather spend my day talking about the military than getting myself worked up because you've misconstrued what I said. Which is another great reason to ask. Veterans love to talk. We love to talk about our experiences, regardless of how many people say I don't like to talk about it. And we may not want to talk about specific traumatic events, but we love to talk about being in the service. We love to tell stories about our drill sergeants and our fellow combatants, and, guys we served with, funny stories from overseas, things like that. So don't ever be afraid to ask a veteran what they mean. Ask them to translate. So in many cases you will need a translator. So yeah, 3 easy steps. The basics, you get a few terminology: Roger, hua, over, out, say again. Generally affirmative responses. You'll hear negative a lot. That'll be that's how we say no. So again, don't pretend that you understand what they're saying or what they're going through. Please don't try to sympathize with a veteran, because we generally don't like to be sympathized with unless it's from another veteran. And step 3 was ask. Ask for clarification. Always ask for clarification. Don't assume that every soldier's been deployed, but assume that maybe every soldier or every military member has seen something or lost somebody that was close to them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to walk on eggshells, but treat them with the same respect that you wish to be treated with. Oftentimes, for many veterans, the struggle of connecting with resources and things in the community is that people don't understand what they're going through. So you may go to a doctor's office and the doctor's not going to understand what your PTSD symptoms are because he's never experienced anything traumatic. And that can lead to those veterans not coming back for further treatment. And there's a lot of organizations out there that aim to solve that problem and stop that issue, which is kind of the purpose for this webinar. A better understanding of our veterans is really all we need. Take the time to sit down and talk to them. Thank them for their service. Ask them how they're doing. They're probably not going to tell you if they've ever shot somebody or lost a friend or anything like that in combat. It is perfectly okay to ask them about their military experience. Just stay away from the combat scenarios. So by better understanding the people around you and the people that work for you, work with you, work next to you, It creates a safer and healthier work environment, and it also makes it easier for the veteran who, for all you know, may have just recently transitioned out of the military. As everybody knows, the VA last year was in the midst of a big scandal, and that scandal kind of rocked the veterans world as far as how we see our treatment. So it is important for those veterans that come looking for help that they get the help they need and they get the understanding from the people providing those services. Step 3, man, I can't stress enough. Ask. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to jump back into the screen share mode here for a minute. Feel free to type in the app on the right-hand side of your screen. I'd like to thank you all again for coming. Okay, no questions. I'd just like to thank you all for coming, and I hope you all enjoy this video and find it informational. Please feel free to check it out on the YouTube or on my website at www.facerpr.com. You can always message me on either one of those pages, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. All right, have a great day.